Hey, Tom Trento, Defend the Border here with another border briefing. This time we have the amazing Chris Burgard, our director of Death County and the River of Broken Dreams. Chris recently was down on the border, the Rio Grande. He has amazing footage for us today. Chris, how you doing?
Every day is Christmas, Tom, every day.
Well, Chris, introduce the first piece for us. We'll take a look and then we'll go from there.
When I started tracking bad guys on the border in the desert and in Texas, Arizona, 18 years ago, the bad guys were all selling dope. Now they're selling kids. And you're going to see that in these videos. This is half a mile, quarter of a mile away from where the headquarters for Operation Lone Star in Texas is. There's Texas Guard there, there's National Guard, there's Texas DPS, Border Patrol, there's law enforcement agencies from around the country. And what you're going to see is these cartels just laughing and that close to headquarters getting people across at will. So this first clip we're going to look at, I think this child was about 10 or 11 years old. He was heading back across the river through where the razor wire was. The river isn't necessarily that deep, maybe shoulder height, maybe deeper in other places, but the current is what gets you. So this kid started to get caught up in the current, and the cartel scout from the other side, he jumped back in to pull this kid to safety.
That's pretty amazing. Why did he's a cartel guy, he doesn't care about humans. Why did he save that kid?
The guy could be on a bonus. The more they get across, the more money he makes, and might be, a guy that doesn't want to see somebody get hurt, or he could be the guy he's working right next to that is a pretty evil person and rapes and kills children before they come across.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, and it's very important for our audience to recognize that that little kid you saw in that water is recurring revenue for the cartels, because once they get him over into the U.S., the cartel connection is still there, and that kid could be sold one, two, three, four times a day.
Here's the difference between what it's like in the Trump administration and now the Biden administration. Trump had DNA biometrics. So these unaccompanied children, if they get into America, they put them in a detention center. Guy comes up and says, "Hey, I'm Jose's uncle. I'm here to pick him up." Really? Well, take this DNA test and prove to me you're related to this kid. Or I'm Jose's dad. Prove to me you're related to him. And if the biometrics don't match up, that child stays safe in protective custody. We don't have that. That was one of the first things that the Biden administration threw out. So now it's back to, hey, I'm Jose's dad. Okay, here you go. Here's Jose. And you have to understand, just since Biden's been in office alone, we have over 365,000 unaccompanied children. In addition to, they've lost another 96, almost 86,000. I mean, this is outrageous numbers. Where are those kids? Those kids are being trafficked. Go ask Michael Yon. Go ask Ann Vandersteel. The president of the United States of America has become the largest child trafficker in the history of the United States. The United States government is complicit in the trafficking of children with these Mexican cartels. It's I know you've probably said it 1,000 times, but if they bring over a load of dope, somebody snorts a line of coke, does a hit of fentanyl, it's gone. They sell it one time. You can bring a 6, 7-year-old child over, and you can sell that child 10 to 15 times a day.
Unbelievable, Chris. All right, what else did your camera capture when you were at the Grand River down there?
So you're going to see there were some cartel scouts that were pretending to be fishermen, and they'll sit out there and they fish, but they never really catch anything. At least I've never seen them catch anything. And we watched them observing when the Border Patrol boats, the big fan boats, when they would go back and forth. And after one went downstream to do a patrol, they brought over this load, which was 2 adult women and a bunch of kids, and several of the children. They're about 15 years old. Several of the children came up. They don't have parents in the United States. And this one woman came across, a little 5-year-old girl, just the sweetest little girl, came over, and it was pretty tough getting through the current with the girl. And the oldest woman, my Spanish isn't good enough to find out why she was crying, but she couldn't stop crying. And she wasn't crying happy tears. She was scared of something. It's interesting. You know, when folks come over, you never know. They say these are my kids, but you never know if they really are. You know, you may have a Hispanic looking woman with a black baby and go, okay, is it a mixed race couple or is this somebody else's child? You never know down there. And now because Biden cut out the DNA biometrics testing, we'll never know.
All right. If you're a parent or if you're a human with a heart, our campaign, Defend the Border and Save Lives, you've got to look at that, how pathetic it is, and recognize that border needs to be secure to save lives. How do you do this stuff, Chris, without letting it get to you?
Well, that's a great question. You know, I have a young cameraman that works for me. He's 18 years old, and we filmed all these groups and the stuff that went on that border. And he'd been with me. He had been with me on one trip before, and we were picking up dead bodies. We were catching traffickers, doing a bunch of stuff, and then this time seeing the children. And we're driving back. I'm in a great mood. Let's go to Dairy Queen. Let's get some ice cream on the way back to civilization. And it was like, and he was just really withdrawn. I said, "What's the matter?" And he goes, I just can't believe what we've just been seeing. And I realized that after 18 years of doing this stuff, I don't know whether I turn it off or there's a part of me that just isn't is just numb by this. But I don't know, Tom. The kids hit me. The rape victims hit me the worst because these women, when I see them, they're so broken that they're never. You wonder if they're ever going to be back together. I'm sorry, long-winded answer your question. I guess it's just a war and we have to win. And I guess I've just kind of hardened a part of my heart to film this stuff.
It's very, very important, folks, that you see this sort of information and you listen to what you just heard from a veteran of 18 years on the border. And certainly, psychologically, spiritually, there has to be defense mechanisms if you are continued to be called to do this. And Chris is doing it so that you don't have to do it, but you can become aware of it and do something about it. Go to our website, defendtheborder.org, and you can join with us to fight this. Now, Chris, you have one more video, and these are the cartel folks around the river. And set that up for us, and let's see what you got.
Down here by Eagle Pass, Texas. Um, Further down the river, there's houses, but here there's lookouts in the trees, the salt cedar. They let it grow thick on the Mexican side because it makes good cover, and then the American side, it's all cleared away. These cartel scouts, they're responsible for bringing groups over, for timing it, and bringing them over the best places they can. So the river's always changing because the current. So yesterday may have been 3 feet deep. Today it could be 5 or 6 feet deep. You don't know. So you have to pick out the best route. So after this family group had just come through, I think it gotten pretty deep there, and that may be why that woman was still crying. I'm not sure. But after almost losing the 10-year-old earlier in the day, I think they were looking for a safer place to cross. They'd gone farther upriver, and so what this guy is doing is he's testing out how deep is the water for where he can bring over a group later in the day and that evening. And and I'm joking with him. I'm asking him, hey, in Spanish, hey, is the water cold or is it hot? How's it going out there? And he just flips me the bird.
All right, Chris, you're showing us this footage and you're describing this horrendous situation. What is Joe Biden's end game? Where is this administration with their open border policy and their insane activities? What do they want? What are they doing?
We're seeing the southern border just be eliminated, be gone. And we've seen in the last year, I personally have seen more soldiers from foreign countries coming across our border in numbers I've never seen before. Groups of 6 or 7 coming in individually. When we interrogate them, as you'll see in Defend the Border and Save Lives, we're asking questions to this one fellow from Honduras. Yeah, he was a combat engineer, but now he just wants to be a chef. We're letting in, and these soldiers that we were filming were coming in from Honduras, Venezuela, Guatemala, and Cuba. And these are places that they don't necessarily like us that much. So when you ask yourself, why are they sending in? Why are so many soldiers coming in? You have to start looking from a Sun Tzu way. the art of war, if you understand asymmetrical warfare, fifth generation war, why are so many soldiers infiltrating across our southern border? And then you may have heard Michael Yan down in the Darien Gap running across what he described as elite Chinese operators from what they believe is the Jungle Tiger division. These are highly, highly trained special forces guys. Why are they coming up and infiltrating into the United States? My fear is that we have more military and sleeper people coming up over that border to do bad in this country than we're prepared for. If there's another summer of rage and Antifa, BLM or something rise up again because the elections or whatever, now you've got all these people trained in demolitions, trained in weapons use, and they're finding caches of weapons all over the country. That's topic for another day. But who are these being stashed for? I have a very grave concern from a strategic military perspective that we're being infiltrated on our southern border with military forces, and that could be a very bad thing for this nation.
Yeah, it's amazing, Chris. And folks, I know it's a bleak situation that Chris is painting, but it's real. We just returned our team, Defend the Border team from Israel. We were in a Hezbollah tunnel. And our information is that Hezbollah is teaching the cartels how to build tunnels. So,
Tom, you brought up something really relevant about being in Israel and talking about Hezbollah made tunnels and how they were coming over and teaching the cartels how to engineer tunnels. Back in 2006 and 7 in Huntsville County, West Texas, Sheriff Arvin West was getting intelligence from across the border that the Sinaloa cartel guys were being trained in how to make explosives and IEDs from Hezbollah guys that were sitting over there waiting to come across the border. So they have been partnering up and working with Mexican cartels, and that's nothing new. You look at fentanyl, you look at heroin. That was the CCP working with Mexican cartels to bring that stuff over. Now they're using Albanians and Ukrainians. I mean, it is the international criminal love fest is on our southern border right now as we speak.
all right, folks, this is real stuff. It's designed to awaken Americans. It's scary, but figure out where you fit in helping solve the problem. And the best way to start to do that, go to defendtheborder.org. Watch our movie, Death County and the River of Broken Dreams. Join with us. And if you can donate, we need help, obviously, in that area. But once again, Chris, keep up the great work. We'll catch up with you in about a week for our next border briefing.